In this video, we're going to talk about the power and fraction rules for exponents. This is Lisa, and I'll be working through this section with you. The power rule states, for any real numbers x and y, and a not equal to 0 and b not equal to 0, b to the xy equals b to the x times y. So a power raised to a power, we multiply those exponents. Or if we have a times b raised to the power x, that's the same thing as a to the power x times b to the power x. So we're going to use those rules to simplify the following expressions. We have, let me move this up so we can see the rules. We have x squared cubed. So that's an application of the first power rule. When I have a power raised to a power, I'm going to multiply. X squared times x cubed. 2 times 3 is 6, so I get x to the 6th power. If you like the idea of expanding these, though, you can also say, what does it mean to cube something? It means I would have x squared times x squared times x squared, right? I would have 3 of those. And the squares tell me I have 2 factors of x. So all together, when I multiply those, all together I have 6 factors of x, or x to the 6th power. In example 2, we're going to use the second part of our product rule. This says I have -2 times x cubed. And my power rule says then I take the first thing, -2, and I square it. And I take the second part, which is x cubed, and square it. -2 squared. -2 times -2 is +4. And x cubed squared, power to a power, we're going to multiply those and get x to the 6th power. So -2x cubed, quantity squared, becomes 4x to the 6th power. Fraction rules. For any real number x and b not equal to 0, a over b to the x equals a to the x over b to the x. In other words, everything inside the parentheses gets raised to that power. And the denominator cannot be 0. That's why we state b cannot be equal to 0. So in example 1, we have 1/3 quantity squared. Everything inside parentheses gets squared, so it means I have 1 squared over 3 squared. 1 squared, 1 times 1 is 1, and then 3 squared, 3 times 3 is 9. And there's my final answer in simplified form. If we look at example number 2, it says we have x over y quantity cubed. Everything inside parentheses gets cubed. We have x cubed over y cubed. Now I said everything inside parentheses gets cubed. That's true if all we have inside the parentheses is multiplication or division. Those are the only two things that we have seen so far. In the next group of examples, we're going to simplify the expressions using the power and product rules. So remember, everything inside parentheses gets raised to that power. We are multiplying 3 times x to the 5th. So we have to have 3 to the 4th power times x to the 5th raised to the 4th power. In our denominator, we have 10 times y cubed, all in parentheses. We have to raise 10 to the 4th power, and y cubed has to be raised to the 4th power. Now, usually if our exponent is bigger than a 2 or 3, we don't multiply out. We just keep it in exponential form as 3 to the 4th. Now remember, x to the 5th to the 4th, a power to a power, we're going to multiply. 5 times 4 is 20, so we have x to the 20 power over 10 to the 4th times y, power to a power, 3 times 4 is 12. And there's our expression, simplified using the power and product rules. Let's look at example 2. It says we have 7t cubed times 7t to the 4th. A couple of different ways you could write this one. 7 times 7, remember all of these are multiplication, we can multiply in any order. 7 times 7 is 49. T cubed times t to the 4th. When we're multiplying with the same base, that's when we add our exponents. So we're going to have 49 t to the 7th power. In example 3, it says find the area of the triangle drawn below and simplify your answer. Remember, area of a triangle, the formula is 1/2 the base times the height. So in this case, I'm going to have 1/2. My base is 6x squared, and if it helps you to put it over 1, do that. And our height is 3x. And again, if it helps, put it over 1. First off, I can reduce my fractions. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 6 3 times. And if I multiply my numerators together, I'm going to do the numeric part first. 3 times 1 times 3 is 3. X squared times x is x cubed. And if we look in the denominator, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 3x cubed is the area of that triangle. And that concludes the video for section 7.2. You should move on to the homework and the quiz following this video. Have a good afternoon, everyone. This is Lisa.